Hello and welcome to another episode of Unboxing Women, where we explore the gender gap in the music and entertainment industry. If you're active in the music business, an independent artist, a musician, or just curious about how it all works, then this pod is for you. My name is Micah Rose, and with me is my friend Dana Rex. We are both independent recording artists based in Europe, and we are here to reveal what really goes on behind the scenes. You can listen to us on our YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast platform. Today, we are joined by Salt Ashes, an upcoming alt-pop artist. Her new album, Killing My Mind, takes you through her struggles with relationships, mental health, and sexual harassment. Honestly, go have a look at her video for the song Lucy. I think we can all relate on one level or another. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your story.
I'm an independent artist from Brighton, living between Brighton and London at the moment. And I make, people say dark pop, so dark pop electronic music. And I think
we have another one of those here.
Yes. Okay, good. Do you always get that as well, the dark pop thing? And I'm like, I guess it is dark pop.
Yes. I kind of had to research, what is my genre? And then I'm like, I don't know. Is it pop, like straight up pop? It's definitely not. So, and I indeed found my way to dark pop. So I do say that my music is dark pop. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good genre, but genres these days are just, they're really sort of meandering between. I mean, I feel like as an artist you can be in so many different boxes of genres these days, and it's completely cool.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's become
a lot more fluid.
I think it's one of the hardest things really nowadays, like what genre do I, and everybody asks you, what genre? Not quite sure.
It's difficult, I think, because especially if you are making albums, then I think it's just a lot more acceptable these days to cross genre between genres, and to have one track that is really got loads of heavy guitar on it, and then another track that is completely synth based and more 80s influenced, and then so I feel like it's it's much more accepted these days. So that question is sometimes a little bit tricky, but dark pop, I guess, summarizes it quite nicely.
Yeah. And so from the UK, Brighton, but you are your roots are half Spanish and half Mauritian, I read somewhere in an interview.
She's done her research.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, my mum's Spanish, my dad's from Mauritius.
All right, and your artist name, Salt Ashes, what does it mean exactly?
It's funny because I'm not really sure it has one particular meaning, but when I first came up with that name, I didn't come up with it really. It was written on the side of a boat in Brighton, because I love walking along the seafront there, and there was a small little canoe type wooden boat, and it had Salt Ashes scratched on the side of it. So I imagine it's the name of that boat. And at the time, I was writing a lot about including a lot of the elements, and writing a lot about love loss and how the seas would pull me and things like that. So I felt like it really represented my style of writing at that time. And I initially wanted to use it as a song lyric, but every time I came to use it, it just didn't quite fit. So when I was thinking of what I thought would be a project name to begin with, just a project name, that one really resonated with me, and it just kind of kept coming back. So I went with it, and it turned into an artist name, and now it's forever there.
I love it. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, a lot of people, whenever they see the name, they always think that it's like a heavy metal band or something. So I don't know whether I love that or hate it.
I have the same problem with my branding. I'm always like warrior-esque, and like with the war paint on my face, and in like some kind of armor. So it is kind of metal rock kind of thing, and then it's like, dark pop and all electronic. So
yeah, but maybe we should just decide to love that. I think I love it. Yeah. I'm gonna decide right now that I love it.
Good on you. Do that.
Yeah, it's done. That's deal. It. Yeah.
So you brought out an album. It was last year, right? It was 2021?
Yeah, it was November 2021. Yeah.
How long have you been working on that?
Probably for maybe a year or two. It was definitely during lockdown. There were a couple of tracks that had been written before, but they hadn't yet been sort of produced or worked on. And they were kind of tracks that I loved, but I never thought were going to see the light, really. One of them being Love Love, which ended up being a single. But I guess just the way that it was produced initially just didn't really fit in with the rest of my style. And then during lockdown, my producer that worked on this album with me, Louis Soyev, he reincarnated it, really, I should say. And so about 2 years, it was quite cathartic to be able to do it during lockdown, but at the same time we kind of drove each other a bit crazy. Because we were like, I made a little bubble, me and the producer, and wrote very from the heart, and wrote I guess more, should I say more authentically? That kind of sounds like I've never written authentically, but I guess it was from an even more raw place. I think because everything in the world was going so badly, and we were all very raw, weren't we? And I think probably all a lot more emotional in general. And I definitely think that you can hear that in the songwriting, not just from my input, but also from Louis' input. So yeah, I like this album for that reason, because it kind of represents not a very good time, but just all the emotions that we were going through during that time, and everyone in the world, really.
Yeah. I feel like songs that came out of lockdown are just different. They just resonate different.
Yeah, they do, and I think that's probably a positive thing to come out of such an awful situation. So
yeah, that's true. And so you have 2 full albums and a myriad of singles and EPs. How do you decide in what form to release your material?
To be honest, it just kind of happens. I don't think there's ever really, I don't want to say a plan, but we released the first album, and that was because, I'd spent my life writing all of this material, as you do, and it just felt right to kind of release a big body of work. And then after that, it just felt right to just release single by single, probably as I was trying to evolve the sound a little bit more. And just kind of find my footing with that. And then again, it came to the point where it was like, actually, I feel like I want to put out a cohesive body of work again. And it just felt right. There wasn't really any strategy or anything like that, but it was just feeling like, okay, actually, I've spent however long writing now, and it was good to signify that moment of time during lockdown as well. So it's just a gut feeling, I guess. But it's not really an album's market these days, is it? So it was more of a personal thing that I wanted to just release the album, rather than it being from a business point of view, Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. What about you guys?
Good question.
I mean, Dana has a more extensive body of work. I just released my first EP last year. So basically, I've been thinking of doing singles as well, because I just find like I'm doing a lot of things right now, for one, and another is just finding what you want. I think at the moment it's evolving so quickly, the way I want to write, that it wouldn't fit on one album. It would look very incohesive.
But
and also
you know what? I'm not sure whether that's a bad thing anymore. I actually don't. I actually don't. I do feel like there are, I mean, yes, I know I just said that I released a cohesive body of work, but I do feel like there are so many artists nowadays that when you listen to their album, one song to the next, they could be in like vast amount of genres, That's
true. I do think, like, in general, it is something you can play with and do nowadays, but I feel singles are just a lot easier as well. Like an album, it just takes so long, and then you release it and it's like something that took you years of work, and it's out there, and there's the pressure is so big for it to do well. So I'm not sure I'm ready for that quite yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
it's one of those things.
And I love your dark electronic, like 80s vibes from your first releases, actually. Also, like in If You Let Me Go, it reminds me a bit of Kylie Minogue, but from like an alternative universe, and I love it.
Yeah, I've had someone say that before in the past, actually, like a dark Kylie Minogue.
Yeah, exactly. And I also hear influences from Kate Bush, and you can clearly hear like a progression to like a more darker alternative sound from then to now. So tell us who you were inspired by growing up and how you evolved the design of your sound.
Well, growing up, I was listening to so many different artists because my family they're not from the music industry. They're not music buffs, I would say. So for us, we were just listening to whatever was on the radio. But then a lot of my musical knowledge was from my brother and sister who are much older than me. And so I basically learned music through them, I guess. So they were listening to the likes of Lauryn Hill and Nirvana and Coldplay and Oasis and Annie Lennox and people like that. And my parents were listening to the likes of Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, George Michael, Lionel Richie, that kind of stuff. So it was very eclectic when I was younger, and I think I basically just worked on my voice when I was younger. I just thought that being a singer was just about your voice. So for me, it was imitating every singer that I could hear and just really honing that craft. And then as I grew up and went to school, college, and then eventually went to music university in Brighton, that's, I feel like, where my proper musical knowledge came about, when I was surrounded by all these, inspiring other musicians, other students, and who were just showing me stuff. My ex-boyfriend, who was playing me people like Jeff Buckley and Kate Bush and people like that. And that's then when I really discovered disco and Giorgio Moroder, and that track by Donna Summers, I Feel Love, was such a big anthem for me. And then from there, it kind of diversified into bands like Change, which are really big. They were an old school dance disco band, I should say, as well. And then it moved on to like Daft Punk, Depeche Mode, people like that. So it's so, I know a lot of artists say it was so eclectic, but it really was really eclectic. And then continued with the indie bands as well. Whenever I went to festivals, it was always to go and see indie bands. So it was a wide range. But
Yeah.
that first album, I worked with a guy called Daniel Friedhelm, who was very heavily influenced by like hardcore electronic music, and we shared influences of like Todd Terje and Daniel Avery, and people like that. And I feel like with my kind of 80s and disco stuff, and he also shared that too, and then with his more electronic side, that's how we created that first album. But the second album, I guess we just all evolve as humans, don't we? And as artists. And I just really love that darkness now, and just like, when a sound just like hits you in the gut and just like rumbles in your stomach. And I really like that, and I really wanted that album to have that, but then also make you want to cry, and also make you want to dance, and also make you want to think about what's going on in the tracks, basically.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Yeah, I can totally relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not with the dark stuff, but I mean melancholic as well.
Yeah. You want your listeners to feel something, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
You want them to like be moved, don't you?
You recently wrote some songs with, there's a lot of songs actually with feminist subjects like Lucy and Body Says. How long have you been doing that, and what are they about?
I'm not really sure that I've ever really, not intentionally or like a whole song written about those kinds of subjects. Not because I don't feel strongly about them, but maybe because I didn't feel like I had the voice to write that. And I feel like everything that's happening in the world right now, and the fact that we're able to see it all on the news and, social media and stuff, I do feel like I just suddenly realized that people like us should use our platforms to talk about these subjects, because if it makes one person ask a question and one person have a conversation about it, then that's a good job done for us. So the reason why Lucy first came about is because I had an experience where, like you guys probably do, I have lots of experiences, negative experiences with men. But one of them was when I was stood at a petrol station, and I was just like filling up my car. There was a guy on the other side filling up his car. He started like calling out to me, and I thought, oh, maybe he knows me. So I was like, oh, just be polite. And I was like, hi, you know, like, and then I was like, oh no, I don't think I know. And then I realized that he was basically catcalling me and just like started kissing at me and all the stuff. And I'm right, darling, like just saying all of the stuff. And then I was like, no, thank you. Just said no, thank you. And then as soon as I said no, thank you, and turned around, he started hurling abuse at me.
Of course.
And it was just like,
I love that.
Like,
it's like, you're so pretty, and then you don't want to, and then you're so ugly.
I know, it's just ridiculous. He just started calling me like big-headed, and like, you're obviously like, I don't know if I could swear on this podcast, can I?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
go.
Yeah, he's just like, you know, you're an absolute bitch. Like, I was just, awful things that I actually don't really want to repeat. But so, and I was just thinking in that moment, like, for me, that doesn't bother me, as in it doesn't trigger me, it doesn't make me cower or anything. But other women would trigger them, and it would make them feel very intimidated. And in that moment, I just thought, like, I kind of was like, whatever. And I kind of didn't think about it. I was like, just whatever, ignore him. I was just like, fuck off. And just like went and kind of did my thing. I was just like, yeah, whatever, fuck off. And went and like paid for the stuff. And then it was when I was driving home, I was like, but the other women wouldn't be able to do that. Other women would feel triggered and would be way more affected by it than I would, and they shouldn't ever be put in that situation. Is the point. You know, they should never have to deal with that. So that's how Lucy kind of came about, and it's just generally about people objectifying and commodifying other people, I guess, and that's what he did. But then he obviously took offense because I didn't want to do all the lovely things he was telling me he wanted to do.
Yes, the things that make you go like, oh yeah, yes, I've always wanted to try that with you specifically.
Yes.
Especially when they start kissing their teeth at you, you're like, what? Oh God, that is literally the only thing that I want a man to do at me, is just to go like, you know, you're like, God, no, disgusting. Like, go away. And like licking their teeth as well. You're like,
God,
it's so gross.
We don't like, we've had this discussion before. Like, I don't understand why guys still do this, because it obviously never works. Like, it can't ever work.
I know.
It reminds me of
it has worked in the past.
I don't think so.
It's going around on TikTok like they lick their lips and they're like, what is that about? Why do they do that? Whoever told them that was a thing that we love to see? It's like they're goats or something.
Do you think it's some kind of weird secret manual that they all read, and they're like, oh yeah, this is what women like? Like, it's a secret though. Keep it a secret. Don't show them.
It was clearly written by a man, because they had no idea.
No, yes, definitely by a man. It's ridiculous. So I don't know why they do that. But as I said, when men do that to me, it doesn't bother me. It just makes you go like, ugh. But to other women, it would trigger them, and it would,
yeah.
So they shouldn't.
I think that also, I mean, it really also depends on the situation, because like there's a lot of times where I would also be like, oh well, just fuck off, because like, dude. But there are times when these people are actually really intimidating.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're right, actually.
You know, like if they're really physically intimidating, if they start getting close to you and you have nowhere to go, you have no escape. Which in itself, I mean, you shouldn't have to be put in that situation. But, you know, it just, there's just such a fine line of where it becomes intimidating for what person. And the whole point is just don't do it.
Yeah.
I think
exactly.
They're very aware that they're intimidating. If he would like have followed you inside, like to pay or whatever, and then followed you outside back to your car, for example, I'm sure they know very, very well that what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, they must do. They must do. I mean, obviously each man is different, and I guess each man is doing it for different reasons. But we human beings, we're not stupid. We understand what is intimidating and what isn't intimidating by how we're acting.
It must get a power thrill.
Yeah.
It's just strange. It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. It is.
But yeah.
And so your other single, Body Says, follows the same kind of theme of female empowerment. It was about the male gaze. We have talked about this a lot on the podcast as well.
Yeah, I'd say it's obviously a very similar topic, but I'd say that Body Says is more about the assumptions that we put on other people. So assuming that someone. Well, I mean, it is men, I guess, but I prefer to say people. But people just assuming that because they want something, that the other person wants that thing. And it's also, judging people by their looks or by their behavior, or by what they say. And then on the flip side, it's about owning your body and owning your choices, and being allowed to own them, and being allowed to say no or being allowed to say yes, whichever one it is. So the very similar topics, but slightly different, stance points, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's really like sorry, I was going to say that Body Says is really about that first encounter. It's about that kind of initial someone meets you, they assume that you want to go home with them. It's a bit like the garage, I guess, that garage scenario, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I especially enjoyed the EP Counting Crosses, which is from a bit before that. I mean, that's totally my kind of thing, like a dark mix of styles and then vocal chops and fun bits. And I thought that your cover of Into the Groove is genius.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that cover, actually, and that's the first track that I've fully produced by myself and released, because
Wow.
Like, I'm always just like, I'm not a producer, I cannot release this stuff, but that because it was a cover, I was like, it's fine, I can put that one out. It's not such a big deal.
Wow. And what did you use for that? What programs?
Just Logic. Don't ask me what plugins I use, because, as I said, I don't really call myself a producer. But I most of it's guitar, so most of it's played on electric guitar, and then using lots of different effects and stuff on it. And then I guess just some loops, just some Logic loops. Nothing fancy at all, because I don't really know what I'm doing.
Well, it sounds great.
Yeah. Thank you. But that EP, that Counting Crosses EP, I loved that EP so much. I really felt like it represented everything that I'd been wanting to do for years. And then obviously I released it the month that we went into lockdown. So it was just like, no!
I can also relate to that. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I had my live show ready like a month before lockdown, and it was going to be my year, and it was like, festivals galore, but then nothing.
Oh God, that's so upsetting.
But I want to put one of your tracks on my Warrior playlist, actually, but I'm still deciding between Rah Rah and Go All Out. I love that one too, but maybe I should just put them all on. I'm just going to put them all on there.
As you see, you have an absolute fangirl here.
It's amazing. But they're two very different tracks.
Yeah, but I mean, they have like this still, I have this Warrior playlist where I kind of, it's about the content. It's, what they're talking about. And just this, the kind of the sound of it. It vibes with, they both vibe with the playlist, so I might just pop them on.
I was going to say put both on, but Go All Out is more like,
why
just
not?
Fuck it and just do exactly why not. That's it. Go All Out is why not. And Rah Rah, what is Rah Rah about? It's very difficult. Oh yeah, Rah Rah is about just wanting the men that I used to be with just to do it. You know what I mean?
That's good. Like, say what you mean. That's good.
Yeah.
I think maybe just stop that one there.
Well, I definitely love the song, so.
Yeah. I think we can all, what's it called? Empathize.
Empathize.
Yeah, empathize. I can't talk today with that, though. So.
Nice, yeah.
We do have actually one question that we actually ask every guest. Have you ever been called such a bitch?
So not by the guy.
Oh. By the guy?
No, not by
the guy.
Like maybe
in
a music industry context, or I mean anything else is fine as well. But
I mean, I can't remember, but probably. I imagine that I would have been in school for sure.
Right.
But it's just because school's horrible, isn't it? I didn't like school very much. But no, I don't specifically remember. But that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened.
Yeah, usually strong women and women who know what they want, and maybe like you're going somewhere. For us it's like mostly like with sound people. I want to say sound guys, but yeah, sound people.
Sound engineers. Yeah.
Or stuff like that. And then you're like, no, I need the sound to be this way and that way for me on stage or something. And then you're like, oh God, she's just such a bitch. Just because you know what you're actually doing and what you want.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I probably had that behind my back for sure. That, that the sound engineer thing comes up all the time, because whenever people ask me about the female-male dynamic in the music industry and if I've ever experienced the negative sides of it, I always say, yeah, and that's the first thing that I always speak up about, because so many times, I mean, it sounds like you guys have had exactly the same thing. You're doing the sound check. I'm saying there's no reverb in my ears, in my in-ear monitors. And they're going, and they're looking down at their desk and going, no, there definitely is. And they're saying on the mic, you're like, no, I'm telling you, there's no reverb. Can you just put a bit more? They're like, I don't know what to say. There really is. I mean, and I've whacked it right up as well. So it's got to be coming through your ears. Are you sure you're just struggling to hear it? It's like, come over here, plug your headphones into my mix, and then you can tell. I would keep very calm, but I'm like, come over and please just plug your headphones in, and then you can tell me. And they do it, and they're like, oh yeah, it's completely dry. I'm like, I told you.
They don't believe us. Why did they not believe us?
It's so awful.
It is because they don't think that we know what the hell we're doing. That's the problem. That's why they don't believe it. It's like, yeah, what does she know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely that, and that's what annoys me every time. I'm like, just but then you do get some sound engineers who actually fully respect you. So like, okay, don't you? Yeah.
No, there are good ones. It's like the kind of not
all sound engineers.
Yeah, not all sound engineers.
Not all sound engineers, people. We know, but a lot of them. Okay.
Yeah.
It's true, and it is that thing of them thinking that you're a woman, therefore you're not going to understand what you're hearing, and you're like, I have been touring and gigging for so many years, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to know what's coming through my ears or not,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you've been at it as long as they have, but for some reason, you have no idea what you're doing. It's really weird.
You can't have any idea what you're doing.
Yes. Why? How would she have an idea?
Mm-hmm.
I remember, so I used to sing in covers bands, like performing at weddings and things like that. And I used to be in this Motown band, so it would be 3 female singers and then a live band. But sometimes the 3 singers would get sent out to do gigs to track because it was cheaper for whoever was paying for it. So one time, me and my 2 girlfriends who were in this band, we drove up to York, which from here is far. It's like
ways away.
That's far, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's far. It's like maybe 6 hours or something like that, maybe. so we drove up in one car, and we did our own sound as well. So we had all the PA in the back, and everything. We get there, and there's another artist who's just playing piano and singing, and she's got her dad who's like driving her around. And her dad was like, "Oh, so you came all the way from London. So who drove you?" Like, "Oh, I did." And he's like, "What? You drove yourself?" I was like, "Yeah." And then we were setting up the PA, and he was like, you're not gonna be setting this up all yourself, are you?" Like, "Yeah."
What
And
a
he's like,
dick!
What? So you do this all by yourself? He was talking to us like children.
Oh my God.
We were like, "Yes, we do this all by ourselves on a regular basis, and we're really good at it, you know." And it's like, classic example of just,
my God.
you know, sexism right there.
Wow. How old was this guy?
He must have been in like 40s, 50s.
That's not even that old.
Yeah,
No,
that's
it's
crazy.
not.
She's no better.
Yeah, he had a daughter in his 20s, you know, but
Yeah.
so he's just.
I mean, I'm not to saying that it's mitigating circumstances, because it's not. But if he was doing sound for his daughter, he probably was in that kind of mindset of, it's like little girls.
Yeah, but just to like assume that of everybody else who's an artist.
It's still super sexist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Completely. It was more just the way he was saying it as well, just in the tone, and just like, you know, rather than being like, "Oh wow, that's amazing, great," you know, rather than being like that, it was like, "Oh my God, really? Wow."
Very condescending.
How? Yeah, so condescending, patronizing. Yeah.
Like, thank you, I can do without that.
Yeah, you're like, "Okay, fuck off now, I'm about to set up." Thank you.
Yeah, also you're getting in the way, like,
yeah, definitely.
You need to get a move on.
Yeah.
Oh, in the spring, you supported Goldfrapp on their tour, you know, talking about touring. What was that like? That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. I myself. It was unexpected and incredible, and it was just everything that, I really can't complain about any of the tour. It was brilliant. The venues were great. The audiences were so lovely, because actually it was my first support tour ever, like full, like long support tour. And what I've seen with other friends, and what I've heard, is that support acts normally, you know, you get put on early, there's no one there to see you, you're playing to like half an empty room or even less. The other bands don't really care about you. I mean, that's just the horror stories that I've heard.
Yeah.
And it was just the complete opposite. I think probably because of the Goldfrapp's demographic, slightly older, I would say, like, you know, 25 plus maybe. And they were all there. They were all there in the audience,
That's
ready,
great.
waiting, you know,
That's
from
amazing.
pretty much the get-go, which was so lovely. And it was just brilliant. It was just good. It was really nice, like chatting to all the audiences, like the audience afterwards, and everyone was buying merch, and you know, it's just one of those moments that you're like, okay, this is why we do it.
Yes.
You know,
That's awesome.
Yes,
and any crazy anecdotes? I'm sure there are a lot.
Any you can tell us.
Yes.
Do you know what, actually? It was quite a tame tour, because I didn't want to get sick, so I was like, I'm not going to drink for the entire tour. The boys were off drinking and doing their own thing. They probably got a lot more anecdotes than I have. But no, I'm not very rock and roll.
That's very
Or at least
professional of you, you know.
I didn't allow myself to be rock and roll. Yeah, I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to fuck it up for myself. Oh, my thing's going out. I didn't want to fuck it up for myself, you know. I didn't want to, like. To be honest, I did get really drunk on one night. Actually, I just realised that's a lie. I just remembered. I had every intention of not drinking, and then on the night that my family were in, I got a bit excited. And
there you go.
Didn't go to sleep until 4 o'clock in the morning, and then we had a show the next day. And the next day, oh God, it was just it was the worst thing, and I was so disappointed in myself, because I'd done so well the entire tour not drinking, and I told myself that that's why you're doing it, and it's not worth it. And then Coventry was a nightmare. I was just like asleep in the back of the van the whole way. I did the sound check with my like classic sunglasses on, and I was there, and I was like, I do not give a shit what anybody thinks of me right now. They can call me diva, they can call me anything, I don't care. I cannot look at these lights. Just like and then did the show, and it went fine. But when you're hungover and you try and do a workout and you're like me the entire way through.
So much.
So I was drip because I'm quite an energetic performer, but I was like dripping. My heart was like in between songs. I was like, hey, how you doing? I had to turn around to the band and be like, just give me a minute before you start the next track. Like, getting a stitch and everything. I was like, oh my god, I'm like, never ever doing that again.
Yeah.
How long is your show?
Well, doing the support, they gave us 45 minutes. I thought it was only going to be 30 minutes,
Ooh.
but they gave us 45 minutes. Yeah.
Oh
So,
shit! You did
we
45
packed
minutes.
in all the songs. We packed in all the songs, and I'm not a drinker. I'm really not like a big drinker. So that night I just got really overexcited. I came off stage, all my family were there, and I was just like buzzing. And then someone offered me a drink, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not? And then just one thing just led to
Just
the
one
other.
drink.
Well, there you go. Well, for our independent artists watching and listening, actually, I wanted to ask if you can disclose this. How did that happen? Do you have a manager that arranged this for you? This the opening, the supporting Goldfrapp. How does that work?
Yeah, no, it was one of those right place, right time, I think, situations, which I'm sorry to say, because I'd much rather have a formula for everybody. But it was. I don't know what happened to the previous support act, but I feel like they had someone booked for the entire run, and then they must have cancelled or something, because I didn't get told until 10 days before. But what happened is I don't have a manager, I manage myself, but my radio plugger had heard that Goldfrapp were looking for a support act. So I think she contacted the person that they had employed to look for a support act, which is a company which deals with only supplying support acts for big artists or festivals. So that was that company, which is Commercial Entertainments Limited. And then they contacted Goldfrapp, and Goldfrapp contacted my label directly, just to say we think that so Ashley would be a good fit, kind of thing. So it was kind of a little chain through different people, basically. But as I said, I think the right person hearing that they were looking and then going, oh, so Ashes would fit, put her forward, kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's great. I'm really glad that happened for you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. It was good. It was fun.
Like, you can still hear the relief in your voice.
Well, yeah, because the thing is that I got told 10 days before.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't gigged since November, so it was a good 6 months or something like that.
Ooh.
My band weren't available. The band I normally perform with were not available. In order to keep costs down, I needed to be the tour manager and organize everything. So when my record label first called me and said, just out of interest, do you want us to go on tour with Goldfrapp next week? I was like, no. And they were like, what? And I was like, no. I was like, no, you're kidding me. I was like, I'm not ready. And they were like, well, it's very likely that it's going to go through. And I was like, okay, fine. And I got off the phone and I was thinking, it's not going to happen. I was like, it's not going to happen. It's fine. There's no point in stressing about it. It's not going to happen. And then when I got the phone call back, he said, you got the tour. I was like, oh.
Great.
And I had such like an existential crisis in that moment, because I was like, this is what I've wanted my entire career, and now that it's come, I'm like, no, don't want it, thank you, bye. So I had 10 days, well, really 8 days, because on the 9th day we went into rehearsals for 2 days. I had 8 days to find my band, send them all the parts. They needed to learn it during their busy schedules. I had to do the whole tour managing, so organizing accommodation. It was so stressful. and when I say this, I literally mean it. I did not sleep for 4 days straight. 4 days straight, I didn't sleep. I was like taking sleeping tablets, which you shouldn't do, but I did. I was just like trying anything to knock me out. And I was just like wired. The anxiety levels were just so high. But then as soon as the first day came and we drove to the venue, and we did the gig, and then we went to the first accommodation, which I hadn't fucked up the booking on. I was like, and I can relax. Everything's sorted, everything's organised. I don't feel like anything's messed up. I feel like I've done it all good. And I'm a good organiser generally, but it was just like,
so way too little time.
And I'm such a, I don't know about you guys, but I'm such a perfectionist that I was thinking, if I'm going to go on tour with Goldfrapp, I want my show to be like the best that it could be. With 2 days rehearsals, I didn't feel like it could be, but actually the band were just so professional and just so on it, and very seasoned players that they made the process so much easier, and I was just able to relax.
That's a relief. Yeah, that's a relief. And how many people in your band?
So it was just 2 this time. So it was one drummer and then one who was playing like bass, guitar, but also synths, and he's the multi-instrumentalist.
I have exactly the same setup. I'm like, just the 2, that's easiest, and indeed you rely on them to like do show moves with you. But also, I kind of had the same situation last year where I was asked, I knew that Steps was looking for an opener, and I'm like, I told my manager, I'm like, I can't do this because it's too quick. I don't have time to do, if I'm gonna tour with bloody Steps, which is like, it's a stadium tour. I have to be better. I can't do that now. I haven't done anything, and like, it's been COVID, how can I? So that didn't happen, and sometimes you're like, should I have done it? I don't know. In the meantime, I'm not working with that manager anymore either, so I think it's best the way it went.
Well, things I genuinely do believe that things mostly happen for a reason. So what are you both managed?
No, I'm self-managing.
Yeah, self-managing. I mean, to be honest, with all the managers that I had before, I didn't really feel very managed. I always kind of was doing my own thing anyway.
Yeah, so true. I often people like ask me if I'm managed, and they're like, you don't really need a manager. It's like, well, not really. I think we probably need other members of the team, but maybe not necessarily a manager.
Yeah.
Well, it would be nice for somebody who actually manages and like finds stuff for you. But I just have the feeling that all the people before, especially now that the industry has changed and they don't really kind of like take a cut anymore, but they, you have to like pay them a fee. I'm not sure if I can call them managers, maybe coaches a little bit, but it looks more like, I'm just taking your money and I'm not really doing a lot with it. So I prefer to use my money for other things.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes it feels like I certainly feel sometimes that I'd just quite like to have someone else on my team, as my team. So someone that I have my record label, but sometimes I just feel like it'd be quite nice to have like another person who's as invested as we are, who will also bring ideas to the table and also be like, you guys haven't thought about this. Why don't we try this route?
Yeah.
But I guess, the things that, do you guys have live agents? I guess that's the thing, the biggest thing.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah. Well, not yet. No,
so. I don't have one. I don't have one, by the way. but I think
put me on the spot like that.
Sorry. It sounded like I have one, but I don't. But.
Well, I don't have one either.
The important thing is a live agent guy, just to let you know. Yeah. I don't have one.
But you're saying that's like kind of the key, or is that what do you mean?
I think so. I think that we don't need managers, but I think we do need certain parts of of the team. And I think that, so like I've got a radio plugger, for instance, is, you know, an essential part of the team. Live agent, I think, is a really essential part of the team, which I just don't have one yet. But I do, you know, in order to get out there and perform in front of people and support bands and play with or support the roster of artists that live agent has, for instance, I think it's really valuable. And obviously everyone wants a live agent, and that's the reason why I don't know, I struggle to get one, I guess, being honest. But I think that's quite an important part of the team. Unless you find that you're able to source gigs and stuff yourself. But I know I struggle with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just such a big world, you know? And so you network on your promoters, and you network on maybe booking agents or something like that. You network on the other side on like sync people and music supervisors. You network with other artists and band members, for example, and and producers. So it's a huge job that we're doing all on our own. So one thing at a time. But yeah, a live agent would be nice. I do have a tour manager kind of now. I mean, you know, not signed yet, but we're getting there.
Right. Nice.
So
would he find you gigs as well then?
Yes, he would.
Okay.
But he specialized in Asia, so it's looking like an Asian tour.
Wow, that's amazing.
Pretty cool.
That's so cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
For next year, for 2023, for people listening in the past. So in the future, I mean, not in the past. For people listening in the future, 2023.
Maybe there are people listening from the past, who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe there are people listening from 2023.
Yeah, maybe there are.
That's scary. Well, anyway, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and let's wrap up. That's all for today.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you so much for having me. It's been so lovely chatting to you guys.
Well, thank you for I think your whole artist persona and is very interesting, and the way you're going forward and growing is amazing. So very much a huge example. So thank you, and please continue.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, sometimes that's the question, isn't it? It's like, do I continue?
Yes, soldiering on.
Okay.
You can do it.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. So that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in to Unboxing Women. If you've ever had an experience that you would like to share with us, here is the banner. Send us a DM or tag us in your post with the hashtag #suchabitch, or send us an email on suchabitch@unboxingwomen.com. Don't forget to drop us a like on Instagram or wherever you are listening to us. Today's guest has been Salt Ashes. Thank you for coming to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So my name is Dana Rex, and I've been chatting with Micah Rose and Salt Ashes. Tune into another episode of Unboxing Women next week. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.